You all who have played Risk of Rain 2 probably know that it has some amazingly designed characters, with each one being an absolute blast to play, with their own unique strengths, weaknesses, attributes, and extremely fun and diverse playstyles. But while that's great and all, this has created a problem for me. I can't decide on which one to choose when I start a run. It's often difficult for me to just pick a survivor to play when I'm in the starting menu, because I know that each one will provide an excellent playing experience and most likely result in a great run, so I often get stuck on deciding exactly which one to play. So what's my solution to that problem? Well, of course, I'm just gonna design the objectively non-negotiably best possible survivor in Risk of Rain 2 and use that one. Problem solved. So let's do it. Alright, so this hypothetical objectively best survivor, how am I going to go about designing it? Well, unfortunately, I'm not a game developer, and more importantly, I'm pretty lazy, so I have some rules in place that I will follow to make the creation process more manageable for my dumb little self. Firstly, I'm only allowed to use abilities, traits, properties, etc. that already exist in Risk of Rain 2. I can't make my own new abilities or properties, I can only mix and mesh the ones that already exist. This will act as a sort of limit so that I don't just go absolutely nuts and make a totally unbalanced character or something that isn't really feasible in the game. Secondly, I cannot drastically alter the new survivor from the norm, i.e. it has to have one passive, primary, secondary, utility, and special, and behave in respect to the other survivors in the game, so no just flat super speed or super strength or busted procs. And thirdly, I'm not going to go over the specific stats of the survivor like health and damage. I honestly don't know what to pick for these because I am not super knowledgeable with the specific stats in the game, so I don't know which ones are balanced and fair to use, so just assume that it has average stats in all specific stat categories. So, with our rules set, let's make the survivor. First thing first, our survivor needs the best name possible. Perfect. Next, its abilities. We are making the objectively non-negotiably best survivor in Risk of Rain 2, so we can provide TheFrosif Jr. with only the best abilities Risk of Rain 2 has to offer. Or more accurately, whatever abomination I can come up with. So first, it's passive. For this, I'm going to take the Artificer's ENV suit, a jetpack that allows the user to hover in the air. Why did I pick this, you may ask? Because jetpacks are awesome? I mean, is that even a debate? And also because it will build into the rest of the kit of the survivor, which I'll get more into as we go. Next, it's primary. For this, I'm going to take Bandit's Burst ability, a shotgun that can fire a burst for 500% damage. But this isn't just some normal survivor with one burst, no. We are dual wielding 2 bursts simultaneously. But TheFrosif, you may say, you can't do that, that breaks the rules you just put in place. Well, actually I can, due to another one of TheFrosif Jr.'s abilities, which I'll explain later. But for now, know that TheFrosif Jr. is using 2 Bandit bursts simultaneously while still adhering to my rules. So already, things are looking pretty good. Just imagine strolling into the teleporter boss, brandishing your dual-wielded shotguns and letting all heck loose. I mean, the damage. Just one of Bandit's bursts is already nuts, but 2? At the same time? With a jetpack? But don't you worry, it gets better. Next, our secondary. For this, I will be using Loader's Spiked Fist, a gauntlet grapple that deals 320% damage on contact and pulls the user toward heavy targets, but pulls lighter targets to the user. As most of you may know, speed and mobility are huge advantages in Risk of Rain 2 as the environments are giant and in 3D, and especially in later stages, standing still is pretty much a death sentence, as enemies will quickly kill you if you're not moving. And one of the best abilities for speed and movement is Loader's Spiked Fist. Grappling is one of the best ways to get around quickly in Risk of Rain 2, as you swing around at impossibly high speeds anywhere you want, and with a cooldown of only 5 seconds, you can swing around for ages. Also, since we are using Bandit's Burst ability as our primary, we need to be able to get up close and personal with our enemies, and what better way to do that than to drag them straight into our barrels or swing right into them. Now I can hear you saying, but TheFrosif, what about fall damage? Well, that's where the ENV suit comes into play. We can swing around all we want, because anytime we are about to hit the ground, we can instead just float gracefully down. And we can also gain momentum from grapple swinging and switch on the jetpack, letting us soar across the map while the grapple recharges, or better yet, fly right into the enemy. So far, we have a dual shotgun wielding, flying, grappling maniac. But don't you worry, it gets even better. Next, we need a utility. For this, I'm going to choose the King of Meme, the Master of Mayhem, the Bringer of Pain. You know him, you love him, Captain's OGM 72 Diablo Strike. This utility allows the user to request a giant kinetic strike that deals 40,000, yes you heard that correctly, 40,000% damage 20 seconds after the initial request, damaging everything including you. Now some people may say that this utility is unreliable, completely unusable due to its 20-second startup time, and a terrible utility due to its ability to nuke everything including yourself. Yeah, they're right. But don't worry, I've got a perfectly reasonable and thought out explanation as to why I'm choosing this utility. It's stupid, big damage, nukes are fun. So yeah, we're using this. You can't stop me. The purpose of the nuke is mostly just to have fun with it. Since our main source of damage will pretty much exclusively be our primary and it should more than suffice our damage needs, this is just an, alternative option to damage. It also kinda works as a distant attack option, which our character will need as we have to be up close and personal for our primary. While the nuke doesn't have spectacular request distance, it has some, so this can work as our distance damage source. But it's mostly for the meme. And also, I mean, come on, 40,000% damage, how could I not pick it? So, will we actually rely on this? No, probably not. Is it just awesome to have an on-command nuke? Yes. Yes, it is. And finally, we need a special, our final ability and one that explains exactly how our primary is even possible, Multi's Power Mode. This was an ability added to Multi in the Anniversary Update that allows Multi to equip both of its primaries at once and gain 100 armor, at the cost of losing 60% movement speed. In our case, this means dual-wielded shotguns. And since Power Mode doesn't end until you end it by sprinting, and it only has a 5-second cooldown, we can use this a lot. However, that 60% movement speed loss is important. We will be utilizing Power Mode a lot, since our shotguns are our main source of damage, and so we will be slowed a lot, which is not good, because mobility is a key advantage in Risk of Rain 2. And even though it does give 100 armor, we still want to be able to move around in the event that we get overrun with enemies. But this is where other abilities come into play. The grapple can easily get us to a high speed, and with just a swing or two, we can get a ton of momentum, turn on the jetpack, use Power Mode, and hover about as if there was no limit to our movement. And since we have an aerial view, we can guide the monsters on the ground into a group under us and nuke them with our mean nuke if we so choose. So now that we have the TheFrosif Jr.'s abilities, let's sum up and analyze our entire beautiful survivor. We are a dual shotgun wielding, flying, spike grappling monstrosity equipped with what equates to a tactical nuke. Yeah, that checks out. Basically, the TheFrosif Jr. would specialize in close-up combat, as its main source of damage is those two shotguns, with the only other abilities able to deal damage being the small amount from the grapple and the nuke, which is kinda unreliable. The grapple and jetpack will be its way to stay mobile and fight against the 60% movement loss from the Power Mode ability, while also assisting in getting it close to the enemies to blast them away. And of course, to make the whole experience way more fun, we have a nuke at our command. The nuke will admittedly mostly just be for fun, but it can be effectively used in some situations to clear small groups of enemies while we hover over in the air and watch. And finally, our special ability Power Move ties everything together by allowing us to dual wield shotguns. And finally, now that we have the abilities, we need to add some personality to our survivor, specifically a sketch. I am not at all a 3D modeler, so I'm going to use the good old-fashioned pen and paper to sketch out our character. Now, be prepared, for what I'm about to unveil is practically unrivaled in the artistic world, and may completely destroy your entire central nervous system just from trying to perceive it. I introduce to you, TheFrosif Jr. You still alive? Good, just making sure. What? I didn't say it would be good, just that it would be really hard to perceive and potentially dangerous to look at, which it is. But it's kind of there. I mean, you got the jetpack and the remote for the nuke there, and the shotguns and the fro. Yeah, that's probably good enough. And there you have it, the objectively, non-negotiably, completely and ultimately best survivor in Risk of Rain 2. No more struggling to pick a survivor in the start menu, I can just always pick this one every single time. Well, I mean, if it was actually in the game, and properly modeled and tested and stuff. Which it's not, but I mean, come on, do I even have to ask for this to be in the game? I'm sure Oppo Games will come begging for the rights to put the TheFrosif Jr. in Risk of Rain 2. I mean, it's flawless, right? Am I right? Am I right? Yeah? Yeah. Well, fine. I didn't even want it to be in the game anyway. Don't take my survivors seriously. But in all seriousness, I do have to ask, if you could design a survivor in Risk of Rain 2, what would you do? You don't have to confine yourself with rules either. Go all out in the comments and let me know what amazing creations you could come up with. I mean, not as amazing as the TheFrosif Jr., but, you know, like, close to it. I wonder how many people are going to take this video seriously. If you'll excuse me, I should probably get my finger exercises in to, prepare to respond to some potential, potent comments. See ya.